Get your filthy hands off my car, boy!
6:45 in the morning. Charlotte still gray. A cold drizzle on the downtown plaza. Harrison Whitfield, 58, white, billionaire CEO, stands beside a midnight blue Bentley with one hand on the door and rage in his throat. 3 feet away, a small black boy, 9 years old, soaked hoodie, backpack patched with duct tape, shoes 2 sizes too small. He hasn't touched the car. Reporters lift their cameras. A doorman in white gloves moves to drag him away.
Get him
The
out
driver
of here
looks
now!
at the ground. The boy is shaking. He doesn't run. He looks up at the man who just called him filthy, at the suit, the silver hair, the Bentley worth more than his mother makes in 20 years, and says one word, just
Mom?
one. A name no one outside the family should know. The Bentley door clicks shut on its own. Harrison Whitfield's knees hit the wet stone. Yeah, a billionaire in a $4,000 suit. Just call the black 9-year-old filthy in front of half the Charlotte press corps. And 30 seconds later, he's the one in the dirt. That's the image I couldn't shake. Hey, I'm Kane Uncovers. I dig up the stories most people scroll past, the quiet ones, with teeth. And what I'm about to tell you started with half a peanut butter sandwich on a wet bus bench, and it nearly buried that kid before anyone bothered to ask what really happened. 2 weeks earlier, a Tuesday afternoon in late October, Bryce Bennett walks home from Carver Elementary the way he always does, slow, head down, counting the cracks in the sidewalk between Stedman Avenue and the bus stop on Beatty's Ford Road. 43 cracks, 44, 45. He never makes it past 60 before he gets home, but he counts anyway. It keeps his brain busy. It keeps him from thinking about whether his mom got the second shift today or whether the lights will be on when he turns the key. He is 9 years old, small for his age, hoodie too thin for October, backpack patched with 3 different colors of duct tape because his mama believes you fix what you have before you ask for new. Inside the bag, a math worksheet, a chewed-up pencil, a copy of Charlotte's Web he checked out from the school library and has read 4 times already, and 1 peanut butter sandwich on white bread, wrapped in a folded napkin. The sandwich is for after school. He saved it. He always saves it. A cold rain starts. Not a downpour, just enough to soak through cotton. He pulls his hood up and keeps walking. At the corner of Beatty's Ford and LaSalle, there is a covered bus stop. Plexiglass walls, a metal bench, an old advertisement for a furniture store that closed last year. Bryce has passed it 1,000 times. Today there is a woman on the bench. He almost walks past her. Almost. Something stops him at 36 cracks. She is white, maybe 70, maybe older. She is wearing a cashmere coat the color of cream, soaked through at the shoulders, dark at the hem where it touches the wet bench. 1 pearl earring, the other ear bare. Her gray hair is half pinned, half loose around her face. Her hands are folded in her lap, but they're trembling, small, constant, like she's trying to hold on to something that isn't there. She is staring at nothing. A businesswoman in heels walks past without looking. A teenager with AirPods glances over, then keeps moving. A delivery driver on an e-bike whips by and doesn't even slow. Bryce stops. He has seen this look before. He saw it on his grandmama, the last summer she was alive. The summer she started calling him by his uncle's name. The summer she kept asking when her husband was coming home, even though her husband had been dead for 19 years. The doctors had a word for it. Bryce was too young to remember the word. He just remembered the eyes. This woman has those eyes. He stands at the edge of the shelter for maybe 10 seconds. Then he steps under the cover and sits down, careful, 2 feet away, The way you sit next to a bird you don't want to startle. "Ma'am," he says, soft. "Are you okay?" She turns her head slowly, looks at him. There's a long pause where it isn't clear if she sees him at all. Then her face does something. A small, tired smile. The kind of smile a person gives when they've forgotten where they are, but remember they're supposed to be polite. "I'm waiting for Will," she says. "Yes, ma'am. Is Will coming?" "He's coming. He's late from practice." Her voice trails. "He's always late from practice." Bryce nods like he understands. He doesn't, but he nods. The rain picks up. He watches her for another second. Her hands won't stop shaking. Her lips have gone a little blue at the corners. He unzips his backpack, takes out the napkin, unwraps the peanut butter sandwich, the only thing he has eaten or planned to eat since the cafeteria's free breakfast at 7:15 this morning. He breaks it in half. He holds one half out to her, on the napkin, the way his mama taught him to offer something to a guest. "Ma'am, it's peanut butter. It's pretty good. My mama makes them." The woman looks at the sandwich, then at him, then at the sandwich again, like she is trying to remember what food is and what hands are, and how the two go together. She takes it. She eats it slowly, in small bites, the way someone eats who hasn't eaten in a long time. A tear slides down her cheek. She doesn't notice. Bryce doesn't say anything. He just sits next to her on the wet bench and eats the other half. He chews quietly. The rain keeps falling. Sirens come up Beatty's Ford Road. 2 paramedics step out. Calm, professional, used to bus stops in the rain. The lead medic kneels in front of the woman. His name patch reads Hayes. He is 30-something, broad-shouldered, gentle the way some big men are. "Ma'am, I'm Daniel. We're going to take care of you, okay?" The woman looks at him, looks at Bryce. Then, sharp, sudden, like a window opening for half a second in a fogged-up house, she reaches into the pocket of her cashmere coat and pulls out a small velvet pouch. Dark green, worn at the corners. She presses it into Bryce's palm. She closes his fingers around it. She leans toward him and whispers, so soft Daniel doesn't hear, so soft Bryce almost doesn't either. "Tell my Harrison. Tell him Ellie's still here." Then, louder, almost girlish, "You'll remember? Promise me." Bryce nods. He doesn't know who Harrison is. He doesn't know who Ellie is. He doesn't know what's in the pouch. He just knows an old woman is shaking and asking him to promise something. "Yes, ma'am. I promise." Daniel helps her stand. The other medic gets a thermal blanket around her shoulders. Daniel turns to Bryce. "Hey, kid, you did real good. What's your name?" "Bryce." "Bryce what?" "Just Bryce." "You got a phone?" Bryce holds up the flip phone his mom got him at Family Dollar. Daniel writes the number on a small notepad. "You go to school around here?" "Carver Elementary, 4th grade." "All right. You go on home, Bryce. You did the right thing." The ambulance pulls away. Bryce stands alone at the bus stop with the velvet pouch in his pocket and rain running down his face. He walks home. The Bennett apartment is on the 3rd floor of a brick walk-up on Booker Avenue. The hallway smells like somebody else's dinner. The 3rd stair from the top creaks. Bryce knows where to step to avoid the creak. 2nd step from the wall, just past the railing bracket. He turns his key. His mother is home. Tanisha Bennett, 33, hotel housekeeper, tired in a way that lives in her shoulders. She is in her uniform, sitting at the kitchen table, and she is hiding something with her forearm when he walks in. She tries to smile. "Hey, baby, how was school?" "It was okay." "You hungry?" "No, ma'am." She gets up too fast, moves to the stove. Her back is to him. Bryce sees what she was hiding, a folded piece of paper on the table. White. Official. He sees the words, "Notice to vacate," and 30 days, before she turns and slides it under a stack of bills. He pretends he didn't see. She pretends he didn't see her hide it. They eat dinner. Rice. The last half of a bag of frozen peas. She tells him about a guest at the Marriott who left a $20 tip. He tells her about a math test he got an A on. He doesn't mention the bench. He doesn't mention the woman. He doesn't mention the velvet pouch in his pocket that feels suddenly heavy as a brick. After dinner, she falls asleep on the couch in her uniform, the TV on low, one hand curled under her cheek the way she's slept since he was 4. He covers her with the blanket from his bed. In his room, which is really half the living room, partitioned by a curtain his mama hung from the ceiling, he sits cross-legged on his mattress and empties the pouch. A brooch falls out. Gold. An emerald the size of his thumbnail, deep green, alive somehow even in the lamplight. Small diamonds ringing it. The back is engraved in cursive too fancy for a 4th grader to read fast. He sounds it out the way his teacher taught him. For Ellie, my brave girl. 1962. Ellie. The lady on the bench had said, Ellie. Ellie's still here. He stares at the brooch for a long time. He thinks about the eviction notice. He thinks about the bag of frozen peas in the freezer that's almost gone. He thinks about his mama's back when she stands at the stove, how it started to hunch, how she stretches it when she thinks he isn't looking. The lady gave it to me, he thinks. She wanted me to have it, right? He puts the brooch back in the pouch. He hides it inside his social studies textbook. He lies down in the dark and doesn't sleep. Hold up. Just give me a second here. This kid is 9. 9. He's already carrying his mama on his back. Already pretending he didn't see the eviction notice. Already doing the math on what an emerald might mean. I'm not going to lie to you, fam. At his age, in his shoes, soaked hoodie and all, I don't know if I'd have the heart he's got. That part right there messed me up. Wednesday after school, Bryce takes a different route home. He walks down Beatty's Ford Road, past the laundromat, past the church with the broken sign, until he sees a flickering neon window in a strip mall. Sullivan's Loan and Trade. We buy gold. He stops on the sidewalk. He is 9 years old. He doesn't really know what a pawn shop is. He has heard the word pawn in cartoons, but in his head it's tangled up with prawn and chess pieces. What he sees is a window that says, "We buy gold," and inside the velvet pouch in his backpack is something gold. In his mind it is simple. Gold goes in, money comes out. Money pays for an apartment. His mama smiles again. He pushes the door open. A bell rings. The shop smells like dust and lemon cleaner. Glass cases full of watches and rings. A wall of guitars. A wall of power tools. Behind a counter with bulletproof glass sits a man in his 50s, soft middle, thinning ginger hair. Trevor Sullivan. He looks up from a sports magazine. His eyes do a very specific thing. They go from kid in a wet hoodie to kid alone in a wet hoodie in less than a second. Help you, son? Bryce steps to the counter. He has to stand on his toes to see over it. He sets the velvet pouch on the glass and slides it across. I want to sell this. Please, sir. Trevor opens the pouch. His face doesn't change. That's the giveaway. A man who has seen 10,000 pieces of jewelry doesn't react when a $30,000 emerald lands on his counter. He just nods. Huh, interesting, and picks the brooch up between 2 fat thumbs. Where'd you get this, kid? A lady gave it to me, sir. Yesterday. She was sitting on a bench at the bus stop and she was sick, and she gave it to me before the ambulance came. Mm-hmm. It's mine to sell, honest. I bet. Trevor turns and walks to a back room. Hold on, son. Let me grab my loop. Don't move. Bryce stands at the counter with his hands clasped together, the way he stands when his teacher calls on him. In the back room, Trevor doesn't grab a loop. He grabs his cell phone. He has already, in the 4 minutes since the brooch hit the glass, opened his computer and typed Whitfield Emerald Brooch, Charlotte, into a society page search engine. He is staring at a glittering archive photo of Eleanor Whitfield at a foundation gala, wearing the exact piece on his counter. He dials 911. His voice goes calm and slow, the voice of a citizen doing his civic duty. Yeah, hi. I got a kid at my counter trying to fence a piece of Whitfield jewelry. Yeah, Whitfield. Real young. 8, 9 years old. Real suspicious. Yeah, I'll hold him. He hangs up. He walks back out smiling. Almost ready, son. Just gotta verify the gold content. Couple minutes. 2 cops arrive in 6 minutes. Bryce sees the cruiser through the front window first. His stomach drops. He doesn't run. He is too well raised to run from police. His mother has drilled it into him since he was 4. He freezes. The officers come in. Calm. Trevor points. The brooch goes into an evidence bag. One officer crouches to Bryce's eye level. Son, I need you to come with us. We need to talk to your mom, okay? Bryce nods. His lip is trembling. He doesn't cry. A lady gave it to me, sir, I swear. She was at a bus stop. You can tell us at the station. A girl from his school is across the street, holding her mother's hand, watching. The bell on the door rings as he has walked out. Floor 41 of the Whitfield Tower glows like a separate planet against the dark Charlotte sky. Harrison Whitfield is at his desk when his chief of public relations walks in. Lillian Vance, 50s, sharp suit, sharper instincts. She doesn't sit. She places a single sheet of paper on his blotter. We have a situation. Small, manageable, but it has your mother's name on it. Harrison reads the page once. His face does nothing. A pawn shop on Beatty's Ford. A 9-year-old African-American child. A piece of jewelry valued at $80,000, formally reported missing the night his mother wandered out of Brookhaven Memory Care. Police have the brooch. The child is in custody. The mother, a hotel housekeeper, is at the station now. Press will have it by morning, Lillian says. I can shape it. I need a posture from you. Harrison sets the page down. He has not visited his mother in 11 months. 11 months. He told himself it was because she didn't recognize him anymore. The truth was simpler. He couldn't stand watching the woman who had raised him forget his name. The night she walked out of Brookhaven, he had screamed at the night shift director over the phone for 40 minutes, fired 2 staff members in writing the next morning, and told himself the matter was handled. The brooch had been her mother's. He had not thought about it in years. Prosecute, he says. Full charges. Make it clean. We don't get sentimental about theft because the thief is small. Lillian doesn't blink. Understood. She leaves. Harrison sits at his desk and doesn't move for a long time. In a fluorescent-lit intake room 3 miles south, Bryce Bennett sits in a plastic chair with his feet not quite touching the floor. The door bangs open. Tanisha Bennett comes through it like a storm front. Her hotel name tag is still pinned to her chest. She has run the 4 blocks from the bus. Where is he? Where's my baby? She sees him. She drops to her knees beside the chair and pulls him into her so hard he can hardly breathe. She doesn't cry. She is past crying. She is in the cold, focused place mothers go. Baby, what happened? Tell Mama exactly what happened. A lady gave it to me, Mama. I swear to God. I swear on Granny. She was sick on a bench and I gave her my sandwich and she gave me a thing. And she said, tell Harrison. And I didn't know who Harrison was, Mama. I didn't know. Okay, baby. I believe you. A young woman in an off-the-rack gray suit clears her throat in the doorway. Olivia Spencer, 31, public defender. She has Bryce's intake form in her hand and a coffee that has gone cold 3 rooms ago. She had picked his file off the top of a stack of 12, the way she picked every file, by random luck and the order they came in. But something on the form had stopped her. The kid had written his own statement, in careful 4th grade handwriting with 2 crossed-out spelling mistakes corrected above the line. He had drawn a small map of the bus stop. He had labeled the bench. He had drawn a stick figure of an old woman with a heart over her chest, and a stick figure of himself with a sandwich in his hand. Coached liars don't draw maps. Coached liars don't draw hearts. She crouches to Bryce's height. Hi, Bryce. My name is Olivia. I'm your lawyer. That means my whole job, my only job, is to be on your side. Can you tell me everything, even if it sounds crazy? Bryce looks at his mother. Tanisha nods. He tells her, slowly, about the rain and the cracks in the sidewalk, about the woman's hands shaking, about the sandwich, about the whisper. Tell my Harrison, Ellie's still here. About the engraving on the back of the brooch, for Ellie, my brave girl, 1962. Olivia stops writing. Everyone in Charlotte knows who Harrison is. She sits down hard on the edge of the table. Bryce, honey, I am going to need you to say all of that exactly the same way again, on a recording, so I can play it for a judge. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. Good kid. She turns to Tanisha. Mrs. Bennett, I'm going to ask you to trust me. I know that's hard, but I'm going to fight this. Tanisha looks at her for a long second. You believe him? I do. Why? Olivia hesitates. Then, because liars don't draw hearts. That night, the local news leads with a photo of Bryce. They use his school field day picture, smiling, missing one front tooth, in a yellow gym shirt, and put the word theft under it in red. The phone in the Bennett apartment starts ringing at 10:14 p.m. and doesn't stop. Tanisha unplugs it. Bryce lies in bed and listens to his mama cry quietly through the curtain that separates his room from hers. He has never heard her cry quiet before. He has heard her cry mad, and he has heard her cry tired, but quiet is new, and quiet is worse. Olivia spends the next 3 days the way only a young public defender with something to prove can spend 3 days. She subpoenas the city's emergency dispatch records. Bryce's 911 call exists, time-stamped 4:47 p.m. She doesn't know the number ends in a way that will catch her eye later, only that it exists, that it is a real call from a real flip phone registered to Tanisha Bennett, made from the GPS coordinates of a covered bus stop on Beatty's Ford Road. She pulls hospital intake. Eleanor Whitfield was admitted to Novant Health that afternoon. Diagnosis on arrival: moderate hypothermia, advanced dementia. Found at bus stop, accompanied by Good Samaritan minor. A Good Samaritan minor. Olivia stares at the words for a full minute. She finds Daniel Hayes at his fire station off Tryon Street. He is on his lunch break. He remembers Bryce immediately. Skinny kid, yeah. Hoodie, beat-up backpack. He stayed with that lady over an hour, ma'am. Held her hand while we stabilized her. Didn't ask for a ride home, didn't ask for his name in any report. Most grown men don't do what that kid did. I'd testify to that in any courtroom in this state. Olivia drives back to the office and calls Tanisha. Mrs. Bennett, we have a witness. We have a 911 call. We have a hospital record. I can't promise you a win, but I can promise you we are no longer alone in this. On the other end of the line, Tanisha Bennett finally lets herself cry the loud kind. In the bedroom, Bryce hears it, and for the first time since the cuffs almost touched him in that pawn shop, he lets his shoulders come down. Saturday afternoon. The motion is filed. The district attorney's office is reviewing. The hearing is set for the following Thursday. The charges have not been dropped, but they have not been pressed forward either, and for a public defender 3 years out of law school, that is a small open door where there used to be a wall. Olivia takes Bryce and Tanisha to a snow-to-go stand on the corner of West Trade. It is the first sunny afternoon in a week. Tanisha orders a strawberry. Olivia gets blue raspberry. Bryce takes a long time choosing because he hasn't had ice from a stand since his last birthday, and he wants to choose right. He picks rainbow. They sit on a low brick wall outside a closed barber shop. The sun is doing that late October thing where it's bright but not warm. Bryce eats his rainbow and gets blue around his mouth and laughs at himself in the side mirror of a parked car. Tanisha laughs too. She hasn't laughed in 8 days. The sound surprises her. She turns to Olivia, who is sitting beside her with her cone tilted so it doesn't drip on her work pants. Miss Olivia. Just Olivia. Olivia. Tanisha's voice goes quiet. You're the first person who looked at my son like he was a son. Olivia doesn't answer for a second. She watches Bryce, small, blue-mouthed, alive, and she remembers briefly her older brother at 15, accused of something he didn't do, in a courtroom where nobody had looked at him like he was a son either. He is a good kid, Mrs. Bennett. He is. We're going to be okay. Tanisha breathes out, long, slow, the kind of exhale she has been holding since the phone first rang on Wednesday. A few feet away, Bryce sets his half-eaten cone on the wall and watches a sparrow hopping between sugar wrappers. He whispers to himself, almost a prayer, almost a song. Ellie's still here. Ellie's still here. Ellie's still here. He doesn't know yet that across town, in a glass tower, the Whitfield legal team has just received its instructions for Monday morning. He is 9. He gets to be 9 for one more afternoon. The sparrow flies. Monday morning, 9th floor of the Charlotte Courthouse Annex. Garrett Holloway walks into the conference room like a man who has never lost a Monday in his life. 6'3", 3-piece, a briefcase that costs more than Tanisha's car. He is the lead litigator for Whitfield Industries, and he is the kind of corporate attorney who eats public defenders for breakfast and sends the bones back to billing. He sets a folder on the table. Olivia Spencer is on the other side, alone. Miss Spencer, I'll be brief. Please. He slides the folder across, a revised charge sheet. The brooch has been reappraised by a Whitfield retained jeweler. New value, $96,000. The charges have been upgraded. Receiving stolen property is now joined by conspiracy to defraud. A new name has appeared as a cooperating witness, Trevor Sullivan. Olivia reads the page twice. You're charging a 9-year-old with conspiracy. We are charging a minor with what the facts support. There is no conspiracy. That will be for the court to decide. He reaches into his suit jacket and produces a second envelope. However, Mr. Whitfield is not, despite what the press will assume, an unfeeling man. He has authorized me to extend an offer, off the record, between us. Olivia doesn't touch the envelope. Speak. The boy admits to receiving the brooch. Not theft. Receiving. Juvenile diversion. No conviction on his record. No trial. Sealed at 18. Quiet. The Whitfield family declines further public comment. The story dies in a Tuesday news cycle. Everybody walks home. Or we go to trial. Press conference Thursday. Mr. Whitfield will be standing on the courthouse steps personally endorsing the prosecution. Every camera in this state will be there. The boy's name and face will be on every screen in the Carolinas by sundown. He smiles. Take a day. Talk to the mother. The kindest thing you can do for that family, Miss Spencer, is sign here. He leaves the envelope and walks out. That afternoon, Olivia drives to the Bennett apartment. She lays the offer on the kitchen table the way you lay down a dead thing. Tanisha reads it twice. Her hands shake on the second read. If he signs this, he says he did it, even if he didn't. Yes. And if he doesn't sign, they put his face on the news. Yes. Tanisha looks at Bryce, who is sitting on the floor by the radiator, pretending to do his math worksheet, but listening to every word. Baby, come here. He comes. Listen to your mama. This paper says you can go free, but it also says you did something you didn't do. You understand the difference? He understands. He thinks about it for a long time. Mama, if I sign it, that's saying I did it. I didn't do it. Tanisha closes her eyes. She doesn't push him. She nods once, slow. Olivia reaches across the table and takes Tanisha's hand. Then we don't sign. The squeeze begins on Tuesday. Tanisha is called into the assistant manager's office at the Marriott. She has worked there 4 years. The assistant manager will not look her in the eye. Corporate received some concerns. Guest relations. We're going to have to let you go, effective today. She walks out into the parking deck and sits in her 2003 Civic and grips the steering wheel until her knuckles go pale. She does not cry there. She drives 3 blocks before she pulls over and cries. Wednesday. The landlord delivers the new eviction notice in person. 7 days, not 30. He cannot meet her eyes either. It's nothing personal, Tanisha. The owner is getting calls. A reporter parks across the street from the apartment in a white van and stays for 6 hours. At Carver Elementary, the principal pulls Bryce out of class 3rd period. He is escorted to the front office for his safety. He sits on a bench by the secretary's desk all afternoon. He misses recess and lunch. The secretary brings him a granola bar. He cannot eat it. His best friend's mother sees him at the front door at 3:15 and pulls her son sharply by the wrist to a different car. Bryce stands in the rain at the curb with no one to walk home with. That night, Tanisha locks herself in the bathroom and sits on the edge of the tub with her hand pressed over her mouth so her son won't hear. She fails. Bryce is on the other side of the door. He sits down on the hallway floor with his back against the wood. He can feel her shoulders shaking through it. He says, very small, "Mama." She doesn't answer. He says it again. "Mama, did I do something bad? I just wanted her to stop being scared." Inside, Tanisha bites the inside of her own cheek until it bleeds. Across town, in a private room at Brookhaven Memory Care, Eleanor Whitfield sits by the window in a robe the color of cream. A nurse, Margaret O'Donnell, 52, in scrubs printed with small daisies, is brushing her hair. Eleanor is having a clear afternoon. Her eyes are sharp. She is watching the cars in the parking lot. Margaret. "Yes, Mrs. Whitfield. Did Will tell my Harrison about the boy?" "Which boy, ma'am?" "The boy with the sandwich. On the bench. The brave boy. Did Will tell him?" Margaret has heard variations of this for 14 days now. She has been writing them down at the end of every shift in a small notebook in her locker, the way she has written things down for 30 years of nursing. "I'll ask him, ma'am. Promise me you'll tell him. The boy was kind to me. That doesn't happen to old women in coats anymore. Promise me." "I promise, Mrs. Whitfield." Eleanor closes her eyes. In the staff break room that night, Margaret eats a microwave dinner and turns on the small TV mounted in the corner. The local news is running the Whitfield brooch story for the 8th time in 3 days. They show the school field day photo, the boy with the missing front tooth, yellow gym shirt, smiling. Margaret's coffee cup stops halfway to her mouth. She sets it down very, very carefully on the table. She walks back to her locker and takes the small notebook out. She flips through 14 days of pages. She reads the words "the boy with the sandwich" in her own handwriting, written 4 different times, on 4 different shifts. She picks up her phone. The diner on Independence Boulevard is the kind of place where the booths have been re-vinyled 4 times, and the coffee is always free for cops and nurses. Margaret O'Donnell sits across from Olivia Spencer at 9:47 the next morning. She slides a small notebook across the table, then a phone. "I'm going to play you something. I have been recording end-of-shift voice notes for 30 years. It is the only way I remember which patient said what. I don't ask permission, but I have never shared one. Until today." She presses play. Eleanor Whitfield's voice fills the booth. Clear, bright, the voice of a woman on a good day. "The boy gave me his sandwich. I gave him Mama's brooch. Tell my Harrison. Tell my Harrison Ellie's still here." Olivia closes her eyes. She presses 2 fingers to the bridge of her nose, the way she presses when something is finally breaking the right way. How clear is she on that recording? Legally. She has lucid afternoons, multiple times a week. Her physician has documented it. She knew exactly what she was saying. "Margaret, I am going to need you to come to the courthouse on Thursday." I had assumed. By that evening, Olivia's tiny office on East 4th has 4 people in it. Olivia at her desk, Daniel Hayes, the paramedic, in his fire station shirt, Margaret O'Donnell, in scrubs straight off shift, and a young investigative reporter from the Charlotte Observer, Caroline Bishop, 28, who has been chasing a Whitfield expose for 6 months and never had a thread to pull until now. Olivia spreads the file across the desk. Let's stack what we have. Daniel ticks them off on his fingers. 911 call, time-stamped, Bryce's flip phone. Margaret. Audio of Eleanor giving the brooch, lucid recording, plus 14 days of independent nursing notes. Daniel again. My on-scene witness statement, the hospital intake notes, Good Samaritan minor, the thermal blanket charge code. Olivia. The brooch itself, engraving, for Ellie, my brave girl, 1962. That is verifiable as a 16th birthday gift from her own mother. Margaret has heard her tell the story 100 times. There are family photographs. Caroline writes it all down in shorthand. Olivia. With this, I can run a piece tomorrow morning that ends Harrison Whitfield's career by lunch. Everyone looks at Olivia. She is quiet for a long moment. No. No? He needs to see this in a room, eye to eye, with his own mother's voice on the table between us. Whatever he is, whatever he has become, his mother gave that boy that brooch. He needs to face that as a son before he faces it as a CEO. Caroline taps her pen against her teeth. You're a better person than I am. I'm not. I just want this to land on the right thing. And if he won't see you? Olivia looks at her. Then you run the piece Thursday morning, and when it does, every word in it is true. Lillian Vance, Whitfield's PR chief, takes the request call at 7:50 a.m. Thursday morning. She declines. She declines a second time at 8:14. At 8:33, Caroline Bishop sends an email to Lillian's personal address with 7 attachments and a one-line subject. Comment by 9 o'clock, or we run. Lillian opens the first attachment. It is a transcript of Eleanor Whitfield, in her own clear voice, on the morning of October 22nd, saying, I gave him Mama's brooch. Lillian reads it twice. She walks down the hall to Harrison's corner office without knocking. Sir, I need 5 minutes of your time before the press conference. Privately. Now. Harrison looks up from a speech draft. It's in 20 minutes, Lillian. I know. I am asking you anyway. Something in her face must be different. He hesitates. Then he sets the speech down. 5 minutes. There are 3 people in conference room B. The boy's lawyer, a paramedic, a nurse from your mother's facility. Cancel them. Sir, I am asking you, as the person whose job it is to protect your reputation. 5 minutes. For a moment, Harrison's face is the same face it has been for 2 weeks. Locked, polished, untouchable. Then something in his jaw moves. A small thing, an old thing. 5 minutes. He walks down the hall behind her. The press is already gathering on the plaza outside. He can hear them through the glass. He is 20 minutes from a podium. He doesn't know yet that he will never reach it. Conference room B, 38th floor. 3 people stand when Harrison Whitfield walks in. He doesn't sit. You have 4 minutes. Olivia doesn't argue. She is not going to waste the 4 minutes on a hello. She walks to the screen at the end of the table, picks up the remote, and presses play. Footage from the city's bus stop, CCTV camera at the intersection of Beatty's Ford and LaSalle. Tuesday, October 22nd, 3:47 p.m. through 4:53 p.m. No sound. A black boy in a too-thin hoodie sits down 2 feet from an old white woman in a cream coat. He is small. Her hands are shaking. He hands her something, half a sandwich on a folded napkin, and waits while she chews. She cries without knowing she is crying. He notices. He doesn't say anything. He just sits closer, an inch closer, the way you sit closer to someone so they aren't alone, but you don't press them. He pulls a flip phone from his pocket. He talks into it for a long time. He nods. He keeps nodding. He takes off his hoodie and drapes it over the woman's lap. He is now in a thin gray t-shirt in 47-degree rain. He doesn't seem to notice. He holds her hand. Sirens come. He stands up, careful not to disturb her. He talks to a paramedic. The paramedic crouches to his level. The boy points at the bench. The boy points at the woman. The boy answers questions. When the ambulance pulls away, the boy stands alone at the bus stop in the rain in a t-shirt. He puts his backpack on. He walks home. He never looks back at the bench. He never asks for anything. The footage ends. Harrison Whitfield is standing very still. Margaret reaches across the table and presses play on her phone. Eleanor's voice fills the room. The boy gave me his sandwich. I gave him Mama's brooch. Tell my Harrison Ellie's still here. The recording ends. Harrison's hand goes to the back of a chair. He puts weight on it. For 40 seconds he doesn't speak. Garrett Holloway, who has been standing near the wall the whole time, takes one careful step forward. Sir, this doesn't change. Harrison says one word. Out. Holloway leaves. Lillian stays. Harrison's voice, when it returns, is barely above a whisper. Where is he? Olivia. Outside, with his mother, standing in the rain, waiting to find out if you're going to ruin his life. Harrison straightens. He walks out of the conference room. He doesn't go to the elevator. He goes to the stairs. He takes 38 flights of stairs because his hands are shaking too much to push an elevator button, and he needs to feel his legs work, and he needs the noise of his own breath in a stairwell to drown out his mother's voice on a recording saying, "Tell my Harrison." By the time he reaches the lobby, he is sweating through a $4,000 suit. The plaza. Drizzle has thickened into a steady, cold rain. The press has set up, the velvet rope, a podium with the Whitfield logo, a small forest of microphones. Reporters have been waiting since 8:15. Lillian, who came down by elevator and beat him by 20 seconds, gestures him toward the podium. He walks past it. He walks past every microphone, past every shouting reporter, past his own driver standing by the open door of a midnight blue Bentley Flying Spur. He walks toward a 33-year-old woman in a hotel housekeeper's coat, with one hand on her son's shoulder. Tanisha Bennett sees him coming, and her face does a thing that has no name in any language. Half terror, half I dare you. Bryce is standing in front of his mother, hood up, backpack on, soaked through. He is smaller than Harrison expected, smaller than the photo on the news, smaller than a problem. Harrison Whitfield reaches the curb. His hand goes to the door of the Bentley. The old reflex, the bone-deep urge to retreat into a quiet leather interior and let the lawyers handle it. He stops. He turns. He looks down at the boy. Bryce looks up. For a second, nobody moves. Then the boy, shaking from cold, from fear, from 2 weeks of his mama not sleeping, speaks. Ellie. One word. Just the one. The pet name only Eleanor's own mother ever called her, and only Eleanor's own son ever inherited the right to use. A name that has not been spoken in this city by anyone outside that family since Harrison was a boy himself. Harrison Whitfield's knees give out. He goes down on the wet stone of the plaza. He cries. Not a controlled tear, the kind of crying men his age have spent 40 years learning not to do. Loud, ugly, honest. The press goes silent. Even reporters stop shouting when something this real happens in front of them. Bryce looks down at the man on his knees in the rain. He is too young to understand what he is seeing. He just knows that the man is sad. So he steps closer. He says quietly, "She made me promise to tell you, sir." Harrison reaches up, slow, asking, the way Bryce had reached toward Eleanor on the bench, and Bryce lets him take his small hand. "I am so sorry, son. I am so sorry." Harrison stands. He turns to face the press. He does not go to the podium. The prepared speech is still folded in Lillian's hand, and it stays there. He drops his own copy on the wet stone and steps on it without noticing. He speaks without notes. He says that the child standing in front of him saved his mother. He says that his own family, that he, had failed her, and a stranger's son had not. He says all charges are withdrawn, immediately. He says the role of one Trevor Sullivan in this matter will be referred to the district attorney's office for review by 5 p.m. today. He says Whitfield Industries will pay every legal fee, every lost wage, every cost incurred by the Bennett family, and that this is the floor, not the ceiling. He pauses. He looks at the boy beside him. He says into the microphones the only sentence anybody in Charlotte will quote from that morning. Real wealth is recognizing the gold inside another person's heart. He stops. He doesn't take questions. He turns back to Tanisha Bennett, and very carefully, the way a man asks something he has not earned the right to ask, he says, "May I shake your hand, ma'am?" Tanisha looks at him for a long second. She takes his hand. The Bentley driver quietly closes the back door of the car. It will not be needed. 3 months later, the Bennett apartment on Booker Avenue is empty. The duct tape on the door frame has been peeled off. The mailbox has a different name in it now. Tanisha and Bryce have moved into a 2-bedroom on East Boulevard. Morning light comes through the kitchen window. There is a small herb pot on the sill, basil, struggling but alive. Tanisha works as the community outreach coordinator at the Whitfield Foundation. She interviewed for the role like anyone else. Harrison had insisted on it, and she had insisted right back. She got the job on her own. She wears a name tag now that says Ms. Bennett, and the Ms. matters to her in a way nobody else has to understand. Bryce starts his first day at Charlotte Latin School on a Monday in February. Full scholarship from a fund Harrison is quietly endowed, named without fanfare in the paperwork as the Eleanor Fund, for children who stop when no one is watching. Tanisha straightens his collar at the front door. "Baby, you stop for people. That's who you are. Don't you let this place change that." "Yes, Mama." "Look at me." He looks. "You hear what I said?" "I hear you." She kisses the top of his head and lets him go. Sunday afternoons, Bryce reads to Eleanor at Brookhaven. He sits in the chair beside her by the window. He reads Charlotte's Web, slowly, doing the voices. Wilbur, high-pitched, Charlotte, soft, Templeton, grumpy. Eleanor doesn't always know who he is. Some days she calls him Will, a grandson she lost in a car accident the year Bryce was born. He answers to it. He lets her hold his hand. Some days she squeezes his hand and says clearly, "You're my brave boy." He says, "Yes, ma'am." Harrison stands in the doorway most weeks. In a soft gray cardigan now, not a suit. He brings sandwiches, peanut butter, white bread, folded into napkins. He learned how Tanisha makes them. He gets it right about half the time. One Sunday, he hands Bryce a small, wrapped box. Inside, a leather-bound notebook. Bryce's name embossed in gold. Inside the cover, in Harrison's own slow handwriting, "For the brave boy who stopped. H.W." Olivia Spencer turns down a partnership offer at a top firm. She opens a non-profit children's defense practice with seed funding from the Eleanor Fund. Margaret O'Donnell sits on the board. Sullivan's Loan and Trade closes in March, after the district attorney's review concludes. The neon "We Buy Gold" sign comes down. Tanisha walks past the empty storefront one afternoon on her way to lunch. She doesn't slow down. She keeps walking, and the sun is on her shoulders, and she is tired in a different way now. The good way. A spring afternoon. Charlotte is finally warm. Bryce walks home from school in a navy blazer that is slightly too big for him because his mama bought it with room to grow. His backpack is new. There is no duct tape on it. He is counting cracks in the sidewalk between the bus stop and his front door. 43, 44, 45. Some habits don't leave. At the corner of East Boulevard and Cleveland, there is a covered bus stop he has never sat at before. There is an old man on the bench, gray jacket, empty hands, the kind of stillness that means lost. Bryce slows down at 36 cracks. He stops. He stands at the edge of the shelter for maybe 10 seconds. Then he steps under the cover and sits down, careful, 2 feet away. He unzips his backpack. He pulls out a peanut butter sandwich on white bread, folded into a napkin. He breaks it in half. He holds one half out. "Sir, it's pretty good. My mama makes them." The old man looks at the sandwich, then at the boy, then at the sandwich again. He takes it. The two of them sit together on the bench, eating, not talking, while the buses come and go and the sun moves across the city behind them. The cycle starts again. The right way this time. Listen, I've been chewing on this one for days. And the part that won't let me go isn't the kneeling. It's this. This kid was 9 years old, hungry, scared, and he still split his sandwich in half. Twice. Once. For an old white woman who just whispered a secret into his hand. And once for a stranger in a gray jacket who couldn't even pay him back with a thank you. That's the kind of quiet kindness nobody films, fam. And it's the only kind that actually moves the needle in this world. If this story hit you the way it hit me, do me a solid. Smash that like. Share it with somebody who needs that reminder that there's still good out there. And subscribe so we can keep telling these. The loud world gets loud enough on its own. Stories like this need us.